And we're live. Loreen, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm very excited to have you in studio, and thank you for coming to Brooklyn. I don't know if you're familiar with Brooklyn.
Well, I've been here a couple of times, but you can teach me about Brooklyn.
I will,
because I was afraid of like questions. Oh, you know Brooklyn, so tell me something.
No, I won't quiz you on Brooklyn. But trip over here was okay, other than the apocalypse that's taking place outside.
Oh yeah, exciting times.
Or scary.
It is a bit scary. Yeah.
Weird.
Although, weird. You see how I'm following you? Like everything you say, I'm like, yeah, weird. You're like, scary. Yeah, scary.
Don't follow me. You don't have to follow me.
The funny thing is, like, all my perfumes have this smells like this. So for me, I went out, I'm like, this smells like me. I like this. But I saw it yesterday and I was like, this is a very strange mist. You know, since I'm a nature person, I'm like, this doesn't look like a mist.
Yeah, it's a little different, but hey, here we are.
Yeah.
How long have you been in New York for?
A couple of days.
Okay.
We came 2 days ago. Yeah. So I think this is my third day. I'm not sure.
And you just found out about 5 minutes ago that you only have 2 days less than you originally.
Yeah, which made me very disappointed. Like, I don't know what I feel about that. I like it here, though.
Talk to them, maybe extend it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Extend it.
I told you a few seconds ago, was there a little tidbit, a little story, a little something the world doesn't know about you from what's already out there?
What's already out there? You know, I'm like an open book. I say everything. Like, and you know, once I said everything, there's nothing left to say. But wait, well, yeah, well, I do have. Well, you know, Sweden, I live by the sea, and well, I have this morning routine that first thing I do, regardless of what weather it is, I go out and take a dip in the ocean. And when I say it doesn't matter if it's raining, of course, if it's ice, snowy, like really cold, I won't go out. But there are moments when my neighbors are like, are you really gonna go out? Because it's really cold in the water. Are you sure? I'm like, I'm doing it. I am doing it.
So it doesn't matter if there's no circumstance in which you won't do it.
No, sir. Yeah, exactly. You know, I will do it. It's just like I have this thing that I'm like, this is medicine for my body. This is a really good way to wake up, you know? I think so, at least. So, yeah, I take that dip with my dog. And when it's really cold, I leave him in the house. I'm like, you're not coming with. This is too dangerous.
How many minutes do you spend in
the water?
Yeah.
Depends on how cold it is, like, you know? But, well, just a couple of minutes, like, seriously. When it's really cold, it's just like, dip. Oh, I'm freezing my ass off, and then up. And
interesting. How long have you done this for?
Years, you know. Well, at least 4 years, I think. More than that, actually, 5. Yeah. I
like that a lot. I feel like, especially now, it's all become quite trendy, these ice baths and ice tanks, and but it sounds like I think we're ahead of that trend.
Yeah, it's something, you know, sometimes you do things and you don't know why, but the body knows why. It just, when you're longing for certain fruits and then you find out, like, oh my God, I was missing those. the what is it called in English? Antioxidant, like whatever, but I mean.
Antioxidants.
Antioxidants.
I think.
Yeah. Is that how you say it?
Walter says yes, so Walter I say yes. Yes. Whatever Walter says.
And then you realize later, like, oh my God, my body knew before I knew that it needed this. So, but I guess it's good for the immune system to have these baths, you know, and really cold water. Yeah.
And is there anything, because I was watching one interview you did. There's actually something.
What did I say?
No, there's something you do before you go into the ocean every morning. Do you know what it is? Something with your toes. I think you twinkle your toes.
Yeah, I mean, they asked me.
Like,
yeah.
Yes. There you go. Something like that.
Yeah.
You do it better than I can.
What is the absolute first thing you do? Like, I mean, open my eyes and like, okay, this is what's going on. What's happening? You know, waking the body up. And that's, yeah.
What are some of the first thoughts that generally come to your mind when you wake up?
Oh God, what a really good question. One first thoughts, usually I just listen, what are the sounds around me, and usually it's either birds, because those are the ones that they wake up first. So I live very close to nature. So, I guess that's the first thing, like, oh, those fucking birds again.
Do you
just kidding.
Do you try to find when you're like on the road, other ways to go into like a body of water first thing in the morning, or it's only when you feel like you're at home that you need to do that?
No, you can shower. You shower in cold water.
So you shower in cold water as well?
I do that. Yeah.
I think
of course, I end my shower with cold water. That's how I do it. So I clean myself up, and then okay, and then I do a little bit of a scream, like, oh my God, no, why am I doing this? No. But you feel so alive after that. Like it's just unfair.
Do you feel alive when you're performing? Is it the same kind of alive or a different kind of alive?
It's a different kind of alive. I feel very balanced. It's like a Zen mode when I perform. It's like there is this in between space, like when you sing. I don't like to say perform, because it's not the actual perform. It's when you're singing, when you're really in it. There is this space, a very balanced space, where the mind is not involved that much. And when the mind is not involved, there is actually no pain nor happiness nor nothing. You just like, everything is just, it is what it is. And it's a beautiful space to be in. It's when after a performance, it's almost like waking up from a dream, like, oh yeah, oh, here's my I have some aches there, and I have these thoughts, and it's just a roller coaster of everything. But in that in between part, like that moment, those minutes, or it's just like, it's almost like a meditation, but with a lot more energy, and it's just.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like I've had some musicians or other performers, and I've never heard anybody describe it as like a Zen, calm state, which is interesting because, especially when you watch you perform or other performers, you imagine that it could be more chaotic maybe, or nerves, or when is it that you turn on that Zen state? Is it right when you get on stage? Is it right beforehand? Because there has to be.
I don't turn it on like that. I don't consciously turn it on. It just happens.
It just happens.
So basically, because it's interesting, when we're nervous, when we feel fear, because being nervous is feeling fear. Like, oh, what if I fuck things up? What if I, me, I. That's the ego talking. That's the mind, But for me, the moment I hear a sound, it's very interesting. It could be like just a tone. Then all of a sudden, organically, naturally, just switch, and then I'm somewhere else. The moment I start singing, I'm just in another space, and the ego is not involved. Because when the ego is involved, I'll start thinking about, oh, how do I look? Look at me. While I'm performing or while I'm singing, it's not real anymore. And I don't know what to do. I don't know how to perform. Like, do I?
That's very. Are there other situations where you're able to remove ego from a moment?
Singing or being in a sound world.
Yeah.
Because it's about, I guess, sounds around you. That space is the most efficient. It just takes me straight to that place. It's been like that since I was a kid. We have our different ways to get to that. Some people, they do it when they're ironing clothes or washing or just doing something on repeat, ding, 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 and then they're there, like, oof, and the mind went. If there is any other situation where, if I'm physically active, like brutally active, like where there's so much going on, I'm like heavy physical activity, maybe, but it's not as beautiful as if when you're singing or when you're in that space of chanting or in the sound space.
Does the Zen or that, like, I guess...
I call it Zen, but I mean when you're balanced, when you're just you and nothing else. Like,
so in that balanced moment, do you feel... do you feel happiness? Like, what is the, I guess, the emotion tied to that balanced state, if any?
That is such an interesting question, really. Because happiness, that's a peak. Like,
right.
you know, but this is so funny. That is intense energy. Right. This is a different type of, I would call this the real happiness, because it's not that top, like where you feel, you know, hyped. Mm-hmm. It's more of a, not content either. Like, the thing with happiness is just a different energy. This energy or this space is more fulfilling. It's almost like you feel
at peace.
At peace, but also we're great. Like, you know, whoa, this is a lot. You know, it's very, I think it exists in all of us. Like, when we realize that this body is pretty small and we're very much more than this body.
Right.
Almost like that, you know. And it's not the happiness nor the sadness. It's nothing, but it's everything. Like, you know, you feel very powerful in this Zen mode. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, a level. Is there a level of
Aquarius
adrenaline?
Is like, I'm trying to understand this.
No, I love this. Do you? Is there a level of adrenaline rush as well? Because for some, I've heard it described as an adrenaline rush, but it sounds like the way it happens, at least with you, is, I guess I attribute balance to more peaceful. So therefore, I think sometimes peace can be the opposite of adrenaline. So I'm kind of curious if you feel like it's one of those highs that you experience.
It's funny because it's peaceful, but it is powerful.
Right.
Like, you know, it's not like, you know, because when you meditate, you're like, and you're in this like peaceful space, but this is very powerful. Like, it's like a peaceful atomic bomb. So adrenaline, yes, sometimes, maybe. I haven't thought about it. Do I get a rush? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So when did you start? This is when you were very young, all of singing, performing. Was there any other kind of arts involved in your life?
Well, you know, I wasn't a performer as a kid. I wasn't the type of child that went like, look at me, now I'm dancing. Like, you know, for me, I was raised in a huge family, a lot of siblings, and one mother, you know, raising us all by herself. So for me, singing, not even music, just singing was a sanctuary for me. It was just something that I had for myself because there was a lot of things going on at home, you know, like, can I get my space? I need my space.
How many siblings total?
At the time, we were 6.
Wow.
Today, we're 8. So, yes. No, so it started at a very, very early stage for me. But I never thought that I was going to be an artist. I didn't have that dream, or, you know, that came much later. But so, yeah, I found music and I listened to a lot of LP CDs. Is that how you say it? That's like these big discs. How do you say it?
Vinyls?
Vinyls, yeah. That's what I said.
Yeah, we'll just edit that one out.
Yeah. So, you know, my mother had a lot of vinyls. I don't know where she got them from, you know. But anyways, like, so the vinyls we had at home, those were my teachers, basically. That's when I started to listen to music. And, you know, repeated whatever I heard, you know. But it was still just for me. I didn't think that I was going to be an artist. That was my space. So sometimes I could find spaces where the acoustics were nice. Like, I played hooky from school and I went to the church and, you know, closed the door. The priest saw me, but he let me. And I just, like, you know, sang for hours, you know.
Did you know at that point that it was something that you would want to do with your life?
No. I just, you know, at that point, I just knew that there was that was my language. You know, at that time, you know, you had these ideas. Oh, I'm going to be a doctor, or you know, these things that been projected on you. Like, yeah, you should be a lawyer. Like, yeah, I should be a lawyer. You know, singing was just. But after a while, things happened. Certain events happened in my life. Usually, it's like that. You know, seeds are planted by different people. My grandmother, for one, you know, where she had a mindset where she believes that when you have a gift, it's not only for you, you should share it. And that's when my mindset, I was like, this is just for me, this is mine, you know. Being in my own space all by myself, I could just shut the door to the bathroom where the acoustic and closed, shut down the lights and just sing for hours. Ding, 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 ding. That was me as a kid. I was a very shy kid. But no, so these seeds were planted, you know. And when I got 17 or 18, somewhere like there, I started thinking in terms of maybe I should share this. Maybe this is not only something that I should like. That was when it started.
Was your grandmother's words of wisdom, was that the first seed that was planted?
Of that, I think, yeah. Yeah, and then there was another seed that was planted in school, you know, because I used to sing in corridors when the kids went, you know, ta-ta, and I'm like, ah, because you couldn't sing at home all the time, you know, you couldn't, yeah. So, yeah, she heard me, and she was like, maybe you should share, or like, have you thought? She was actually American. Deborah was her name. Yeah.
That sounds very American.
Yeah. You should join my choir. Like, no, I should not.
Where was this?
This was in Sweden. This was in a city called Västerås.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know it?
No, I don't. Whereabouts is that?
Oh, that's like 1 hour from Stockholm.
From Stockholm,
capital,
okay.
Yeah. Small city. Not a big deal. Sorry.
And once you got to the ages of 17 or 18, that's when you really felt like it could be more?
Yeah, I guess. But it scared the shit out of me. I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, I don't even know how a microphone works. Like, how do you produce? What do you do, you know? I just knew that I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. That's what but it's funny, like when you send things out in the universe and you don't know how it's going to work, but life finds a way. And my first step was actually my sister, my baby sister. She's a Gemini, by the way. Much trouble. So much trouble, like, you know. But anyway, she's like, they're casting for the idols. Like, what is that? You know, I didn't know stuff, like, you know. And so she pushed me into, like, you know, doing. And I was shitless scared, you know. I've never performed in front of people ever, you know. So, but she made me go there, you know. She knew how to, you know, you're chicken, you know. She started talking to me like that. I was like, no, I'm not. So she made me do it. Yeah.
Do you think without her pushes, you wouldn't have done it?
I wouldn't have done it, no. Most definitely. I'd be like, yeah. This woman.
Do you thank her?
Oh, she thanks herself. She's like, you wouldn't be whatever you are if it wasn't for me. I'm just saying. I'm like, okay. True story.
Yeah.
But I think if I'm allowed to be a bit spiritual, I think that is her role in my life. Because every crossroad, she's always been the one pushing me in a certain direction, almost like a guardian angel, but very annoying.
I'm sure she'll love that.
You know, that's the only way to get me to do certain
I can
things.
tell she's your sister.
Yeah, you know, she's so annoying, it's crazy, but every time she comes and saves my ass, like, it's crazy, or pushes me in a direction that I need to be pushed, you know, otherwise I won't do it. Like, I don't understand why. No.
When you say I won't do it, is it indecisiveness, or is it fear?
Oh, that is such a good question. All these good questions. This is a deep, lovely conversation.
Thank you.
Well, It could maybe subconsciously be fear. I don't know. It's just that sometimes you have an idea of like, okay, my path is this and this is how it's going to go. I'm going to do it this way. But maybe the universe didn't have other plans for you, you know. So it could be just having an idea of like, no, I'm not doing the idols. I am doing it this way. But it's the idols that is it's gonna do certain things that will lead to other things and so on and so forth. Because the interesting thing with idols was that it was one of the most painful times in my life, because I didn't know anything about the industry, about how to produce. I hadn't even heard, I didn't even know my own voice. I didn't know I was sounded like, you have to know that I went from singing in my bathroom to like standing in front of people like, okay, faking it until you make it, I guess, but that was so painful. But it triggered certain things in me, because after that, I decided that I'm going to learn everything there is about my voice. I'm going to learn how to produce. I'm going to learn the industry. I'm going to learn to tell it, even how you create reality. So for years, I practiced. This was my school, a school of life. Yeah, so it's interesting.
Did you fear like what would happen if the singing didn't work out? Was that ever a thought process?
I mean, it was, but I didn't care. I went on anyways. I was brought up that way. You see, my mother, she was very young when she had me, and her circumstances was worse than mine, and she made it. So she was always this person I looked on like, okay, if my mother can make it, well, I honestly have to make it, otherwise, it's embarrassing, So I think one thing that I've got from her is like, I guess it's like, I don't take no for an answer. There's no such thing. I just don't give up.
But when you don't take no for an answer, do you ever think that maybe you're like, it's funny because when you're talking about earlier about having your sister kind of push you at these different crossroads, perhaps that a certain circumstance could actually be showing you the route that you want to go, or that you're more destined to go, because I think that there's a big spirituality aspect to you that you've talked about in previous interviews that we'll touch on in a second. But more like, do you believe in kind of the spiritual aspect or the fatalistic approach when it comes to making decisions? And
what's a fatalistic? What does that mean?
Kind of like that everything is predetermined.
Well, it was either that or
I guess it's just that. Do you think everything is predetermined?
Well, I mean, I hope not. I believe that there are crossroads in our lives where we can decide, like, going right or left, and depending on which way we go, there are things. Because the moment we start saying that things are predetermined, then do we have a choice in that, or like, Well,
that's what I'm saying, because then the no's and the crossroads ultimately don't matter.
Yeah, and then the whole concept of free will just like totally vanishes. So my answer to that is like, no, I don't think so. I just think that there are like ways things can go, and we decide whichever way we want to go, and our life forms to that.
Do you usually trust your gut on those decisions?
I've learned to trust my gut. Oof. There are moments in my life where I haven't, because I have a really strong gut feeling. I think we all have. The more we listen to it, the stronger it gets. But many times in my life, I've had that gut feeling. I didn't listen, and life just gave me such boom. Like, and those were needed, trust me. So it came to that point where I'm like, oof, nowadays when I get that gut feeling and I really want to not go on my gut feeling, because it's just, I guess it's like management by fear, because I'm like, ooh, if I don't go on my gut feeling, it's gonna hurt. Like, no, I have to go. And then I go on the gut feeling.
But are you scared of some of, well, even before that, what do you fear the most in general?
I guess my biggest fear is to live a lie, or to live somebody else's idea of what I'm supposed to be, because you want to experience freedom, and the only way to experience freedom is to be completely, I was going to say fearless, but well, you just want to explore yourself. Don't you want to explore yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And for that, you have to question things. You have to get out of, like, I guess, your comfort zone.
Well, it's interesting too, because I feel like when you're talking about how your sister's pushed you at those different crossroads, in a way, not that she's the one making the decisions for you, but that's obviously somebody that's influencing a decision on your life.
Yeah.
Which maybe kind of counteracts what you're saying now, right? Where it's, which I just think is more interesting than anything, perhaps shows your relationship with your sister, which seems to be very loving at its root.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But I mean, I guess the only way to develop is to go through those, like, painful situations. You don't always choose them, but it's necessary. It feels like it's like law of nature. Like, the only way to really grow is through that bloody pain. To get rid of that fear. It's like you have to just go through that.
Does experiencing pain scare you?
I mean, I think it scares everyone.
Or I guess future pain. Yeah.
It's crazy because pain's fear is just a big fucking illusion. Like, it's just an idea of what possibly maybe could happen, but it probably won't happen. So it probably isn't that scary. Like, it's just an idea. It's a weird one, isn't it? Yeah.
What is, so, because you've spoken about spirituality as something that is a part of your life. Well, like, what is spirituality for you?
I guess it's believing that there's so much more than, I guess there's so much more than what we see, smell, taste, hear, that, intuition. There's a reason to why we're here. I guess that's spirituality, You really ask me interesting questions. Like, what is spirituality? Like, it's like ask me what is the meaning of life. I'm like, okay.
I'm very interested by the way you think. So I think it's.
Well, spirituality, I think it's us. We're spirituality. Can I say that? Does it sound cryptic?
That we are spirituality?
Yeah, in our core.
But what do you mean?
I don't know what I mean with that. You should cut this part out.
No, absolutely not. I refuse. I refuse to unless you really wanted me to.
No, I mean, like, everything is energy. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Everything is energy.
Right.
Everything is connected, Everything is light. If you look at it scientifically, everything is light. So it just says a lot about what's going on, I mean.
Do you feel like with experience you become, and life experience, I mean, you've become more spiritual?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I mean, to me, this is just my own opinion. I mean, to me, it's pretty obvious that life is just like one big, beautiful school or test. Like, things repeating itself in your life, It's obvious that there are things we have to learn here, And so, yeah. And, if you really look close at everything around us, I mean, what we have around us is just, it's very advanced and it's very beautiful.
Right.
Like, just looking at a molecule, there's so many layers. There's so many things. It's amazing. You know, how can you not be spiritual if you look closely? Like, I was in Iceland. The first time I was in Iceland, just the most beautiful place in the world. And I'm like, my God, this is my living room right now. Hey. It's like, you know, how is this possible? You know, who created this?
I know. It is pretty wild.
It is.
Do you feel like music is...
And I have to say, this is just our surroundings. And if you look inwards, how beautiful isn't that?
Right.
What is going on within just one person? There's so many things there, you know. There's so many layers, beautiful layers to what we're capable of doing. And, you know, hey.
Right.
Yeah. Just saying.
Do you feel like music is another kind of spiritual outlet for you?
Yeah, it connects me with spirituality more. Like with me or with everything, you know.
How do you go through, what is in general your creative or musical process?
You mean how it looks?
Yeah, like, you know, from the inception of an idea for a song or until it's finished.
Well, here's the thing, you know, some creators, they have a very clear idea of what they're going to write about, you know. Oh, it's going to sound like this. They're trying to, like, they're very controlling, like, this is what's going to happen. For me, especially today, I just know that the information is already there. So when I walk into a studio, you know, I just let it, whatever happens, because usually it's what's going on inside.
Right.
You know? I just let it flow. The moment I try to control things, like, oh, I'm going to make a song that sounds like this, you know, it's just like, the connection is not there anymore, you know. Connection to you is not there. So, I mean, it's scary with some creatives that you work with. They're like, oh, so we're not having a plan. No, there is no plan. Let's just go in and it will happen, you know. Let's just trust that, you know. So, so my creative process is very, like, not trying to control anything. And once it's there, recorded, then you can start like, okay.
Right.
Now we have a narrative. This is, okay, this is the story that came out. Oh, I'm singing about this. Oh, interesting, you know. Usually you just put the microphone on. There is a vibe, there's a sound, and then whatever happens, happens. The story will be there.
Where do you do most of your recording in general?
In the studio.
Whereabouts geographically speaking?
It's been a lot in Sweden, but now I'm in London working a lot. I was in Iceland just recently.
I know.
I worked with an amazing producer, very spiritual guy also. His name is Olafur Arnolds. It's like, you have to check him out. Okay. That was a crazy journey, darling. What? It was so beautiful.
What was crazy about that specific journey?
It was just like, it was his musical landscape mashed up with my musical landscape. It was, and also where he had the studio, the whole experience was just like, when you went out of the studio and you looked out of the window, what you saw was these mountains just going into it. It was just like, the whole vibe in Iceland is just wild, and the music also becomes that because you're so influenced by all these things going on around you, you know. But he has this beautiful, like, musical landscape. And it was just so interesting to watch our worlds just mash up together and what came out of it, you know. Yeah.
Where do you feel like where do you feel like you're at in your musical career? Do you feel like this is, or are you I don't know, do you search for certain different, like, inflection points or different eras of your career? How do you assess you know, the kind of art that you're producing now?
What do you mean? Like, how do I, like...
I want to, maybe assess is the wrong word, but where do you feel like there's, throughout your career, different chapters?
Oh, yeah.
And if so, then what chapter are you in now? Or what era do you feel like you're in now?
Oh, wow. definitely different chapters in my life. It's so interesting. Sometimes when I listen to the music that I've had, like, and things that I've created, I'm like, oh, that was a part of my life. That's an interesting segment. Oh, I was dealing with those things. Interesting. You know, it's just I guess a reflection of what's going on the inside.
Right.
Where am I at now? Where I'm at now. I mean, musically, I have this. It just came organically, and now I'm watching it from outside. There's a lot of heritage coming into the, you know, where I'm from. My roots, my nomadic roots, have been like, it's been growing on me like for years now. Just certain things happening in musically or like live, like I want to do certain things, and then I realize later, oh my God, these are my roots. These are my nomadic roots, Moroccan roots. You know, coming in, you know, without me even planning it, you know. Now, so I have this need now musically. I don't know if this is answering your question, to add more of those influences for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, it's
like
there.
Like more of those, is it specifically Moroccan roots or just nomadic roots in general?
Moroccan, I would say. The North African roots.
Right.
Yeah. Similar, like, yeah. But my Berber roots, yeah. We're from the Atlas Mountains, you know. It's a way of singing. It's a way of like certain, I mean, melodies that are there, like, so certain sounds, like it could be a synthi, like, which is a really cool guitar, but it's not a guitar. It's like a mashup of a bass and guitar. Like, I really fell in love with that. You know, just yeah.
It's funny, my Morocco is probably one of my favorite places. My mom, and very dear to our family because my mom's boyfriend is Moroccan.
Oh yeah.
So we've spent a fair bit of time over there. So we're big.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
Mostly Marrakesh and Essaouira.
Essaouira.
Yeah. I've never been to Essaouira.
No? Okay.
My mom has. But I hear it's beautiful.
It is. Very sandy.
Where in Morocco do you spend a fair bit of time there?
Well, I do. Like when I want to meet relatives, well, they live up north. When I need some time alone, I go to Marrakesh, like down. But so yeah, Rabat, Nador, that's like, it's like Agadir, like, so we come from the north part, but Marrakesh is beautiful. And especially if you drive up to the Atlas Mountains from there,
I've heard.
like, I mean, it's just beautiful.
Do you speak French?
Je parle un peu, oui.
On peut parler en français alors.
Tu parles français?
Oui.
Pourquoi?
Parce que ma mère elle est parisienne, elle est française.
Oh my God. Oh really? Oh, and that's where my French stopped, you know.
Done with the French.
Done with the French.
I'm curious, how do you, or even before that, is success important to you? And if so, how do you measure your own personal success?
Is success important? Like, also a very interesting question. I've asked myself that a million times. Is success important? How I know what is important to me, sometimes I just visualize, okay, Loreen, if success was so important, would you compromise your music? Would you compromise your look? Would you compromise your art? Can you imagine yourself doing that? But you'd get success. And the instant feeling I have in my body is a big no. You know, whenever I try to visualize compromising for success, I just feel like a big, heavy, dense feeling in my body. And that's how I know what's important for me. Of course, everybody wants success. Everybody want people to like what you create, I guess. But if that didn't happen, and I got to create what I want to create, I would still be happy.
But how do you measure what success is?
Success is
like, what's your metric?
I think success is being true to yourself, having a really good relationship with yourself, you know, knowing yourself, that is success. Doing what you love the most, you know, not compromising on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you won't enjoy success if you don't have a good relationship with yourself. So I guess I measure success with being true to yourself. And the reason why I say that is because I have compromised and I've got success from it. And I'm like, this is not nice. I don't like this. But I got success. But it wasn't interesting.
How have you worked on your relationship with yourself over the years?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Every day.
How?
Well, I think, being very honest with yourself and maybe a bit self-critical.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one is really important. Some people be like, you're being too hard on yourself. But no, I'm actually giving myself power. I need to... with me, I look at situations. I try to look at them as honest as possible so that I can change myself if it's needed,
mm-hmm.
and become better. And it's not for anybody else but for me. So whenever I get constructive criticism or criticism, I take that information, I with myself, be like, is there any truth in this, and is this good for me, like these behaviors that I have, or like what it,
mm-hmm.
So what was the question?
How you've I guess done the work on yourself, more or less, over the years. The ways in which
I think that's
about
one
it.
efficient way to work on yourself. And you have to, and I've also, I've been very much alone with myself, taking time away from information and people, and I think that's a scary thing for us to do today,
mm-hmm.
Being by ourselves or alone. We don't like that, But there's a lot of things happen when you're sitting by yourself and not doing anything. No games, no telly, no mobile, no writing, no nothing, just...
What does that look like? Is that like a...
Could be a meditation center where you're completely quiet, like for days.
What's the most intense, when I say intense, the most, intense experience that you've had with being alone with yourself?
The first time I was alone with myself. That was the most intense one. I was like, I feel like I've talked about this. These guys know about this. I'm sorry that you have to hear this again. No, but I think the first time I was alone with myself that way, intensively, not doing anything, that was a meditation center when I was how old was I? I think I was 22 or 23. It's called Vipassana. Do you know about it?
No.
Yeah, well, it's a silent retreat. It's very simple, very, very simple, where you're not allowed to do anything but to meditate. It's like they have guided meditations there, of course, teach you how to meditate, how to be with yourself. And the whole day you don't do anything but meditate and sit with yourself. A lot of things happen. Sometimes we think that the things that we feel, see, it just disappears, but it stays in our bodies, memories, everything. It needs to be handled, otherwise it's there. And it becomes like a stagnation in your system. Basically, it won't leave your body until you really looked at it and got rid of it. Forgive and forget. But I mean, so my first time that I did a silent retreat for 10 days, I remember that the third day was pretty intense, because the mind, on a lot of us, the mind is out of control.
Mm-hmm.
It's just everywhere. The
mm-hmm.
mind. Sometimes when you look at yourself, when you just, you just look at your thoughts, you're like, oh, how many thoughts have you thought in a minute?
Crazy.
I mean, it's crazy. It's out of control.
It's bouncing around in there.
Yeah. That was the first time I realized, my God, our minds are like computers. And we just feed it with a lot of information, not knowing, what type of information we're supposed to feed it with, negative, positive. It affects the whole very much. So I learned... That was the first time I learned how to okay, I need to take control. I need to control this. Otherwise it's just just flies away, you know, unpredictable. Yeah, but that was intense.
How many days total is that?
10.
Fully silent.
Fully silent. That was the first time. That was the hardcore one. And then, but the funny thing, after the third day, just something just switched. Like, it was almost like the body, mind accepted that, you know, wait, I'm not gonna, this is how it's gonna look. It's gonna be like this, you know. So it just accepted it, and the fourth day was beautiful. So I've done 10 days, and then I went back and did 10 more days, and I've done 30 days, you know.
You did 30 days?
Yeah.
Fully silent?
Fully silent. And not only silent, they're usually, and that is the whole idea, you know, because we tend to look for, you know, I wouldn't say recognition, but we look for validation all the time from each other.
Right.
And this was the first time I wasn't allowed to look people in the eyes. I had to be with myself. I had to respect other people's space. And they were so close to me. You cross people on the corridor and you're like, okay, I'm not supposed to look. Okay, not look.
Interesting.
You know, it was very interesting, you know. But it just taught, at least me, a lot about our behaviors, what we're doing, like validation, always outside of ourselves. You know. How are you supposed to know who you are if you're always outside of yourself? You know, information, blah, blah, blah. It's like,
Do you like being around people in general?
No, just kidding. No. I love people. Like, I love being around people as long as it's authentic meetings, you know. You don't see me on events like, having a drink and like just small talking. I like to dive in deep with people, you know.
Do you feel like people generally want to dive in deep as well, or hesitant?
Oh, yes. I do. I mean, you know, there is no other way with me, you know. Once we meet, like, you know, if you're not interested in diving in deep or just being real,
right,
you won't like me. No, I like but most of the times, you know, we like that, you know, diving in deep, you know, being here, being real. I think so, at least the ones that are around me.
Do you, because I think a lot of what you speak about in a lot of ways is, I guess, along the lines of manifestation, to a certain degree. Is that something that you actively practice?
The law of manifestation. Yeah, I'm very much aware of it. Because like attracts like. We talked about it, me and my manager, actually. Was it yesterday? Yeah, well, it doesn't really matter. But, yeah, I do actually think a lot about that. Like, of what my thoughts are. Because I know that whatever my reality is, or what I think my reality is, will become my reality. You know, and whatever I'm like. So, I become my beliefs. And if there's something distorted with my beliefs, then I know that that will manifest itself, you know. I'm a living proof of that. There's so many events in my life where I'm like, I don't even know how it happened, but it happened beautifully. Like, you know, things, like, I just knew that I want to be there. I don't know how I'm going to become that or have that, whatever it is, you know. For many who would say it doesn't make any sense to even dream those things, like, but it just happened. So I'm a very a believer of the law of manifestation.
So what are you, I guess, to wrap things up, what do you...
Wrap things up? We're just getting started. What do you mean, man?
We got a time crunch for you.
No.
What are we on?
Just kidding.
We're okay on time?
You're an Aquarius.
Oh, we're
like,
good.
This is, yeah.
Oh, we're good on time. We don't gotta wrap nothing up. No, I'm kidding. Until they start yelling at me.
They should be.
What are some, thank you, what are some active manifestations that you're looking to put into the ether these days?
Ether.
To the world. What have you been manifesting as of late? Do you do you do like a short-term, long-term manifestation? Is it? Because I think it's different for everybody.
Yeah, it is different for everybody. Oh, wow. Like, what am I? Well, I do have the need of sending out, like, some healthy vibrations through my creativity out in the world. Like, for instance, when I did the Eurovision performance, I mean, I had this idea when I said yes, that I'm going to create this performance that will send out certain energy. So for 6 months, like what do you call it? When you're generating a certain energy, you see a certain picture in your head, you know, and the picture was that when people look at this performance, they will have these certain feelings. That was and these are just positive things, like hope and just a connection to nature. There was a lot of things going on there, but I generated that energy. Like, I saw that picture, you know, and I was like, it's already happened. This is what's, you know, and it happened. Yeah. So what are my manifestations sending out to the world? I guess just balancing things up. It's like I have this, there are certain truths that I want, you know, I want to send out. Like, for instance, that life is really what you make it. This is a really important thing, you know. And it sounds hard, but really, like, what we really need to change is our mindset, you know. I see beauty everywhere. Why? I'm not naive. This is what I see. And a lot. So, I mean, and my life becomes that. Yeah. Yeah. This is,
Well, I wonder too, right? Like, for if somebody's listening who perhaps struggles to have that that process of seeing kind of the beauty in perhaps things that on the surface feel dark. What has specifically worked for you in kind of altering that mind and
I guess
vision?
Well, I think, like, you know, because I've been in that space where everything is negative, and what I've realized that's why I'm talking about mind control. The mind is unpredictable. We're being fed with a lot of negative energy around us. The world is a shitty place. Don't trust anybody. Ding, 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 ding. You know, this is what we're feeding our minds with, our computers with, you know. Like, not everything you think is reality. It becomes your reality, but is it really real, you know?
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, there are ways to take control over your mind. Make sure it's beneficial for you, you know? And I just feel like there's, like, we work on so many things. We want to be stronger. We exercise in the gym, right? We do certain things, you know. We go on diets to become, you know, whatever. And, you know, we make these changes in our lives for the better. But we think that you don't have to make these changes when it comes to the mind. You have to work with the mind just the way you work with your physical body or with anything else. You know, you go to school and you learn things, right? So these are things that we need to learn, you know. And the reason why is because that's the key to a certain, like, freedom, like, you know, a happiness, like, where because the moment you look at life in a positive way, you know, then positive will come to you, you know. So what do you want from life? This is a school that we know we take it a bit for granted, like, you know, no, it's just the mind, I'm the mind, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, well, you know, it takes hard work, though. It's not like you just think about it and then it's there, you know. It takes a lot of practice, especially if the mind is set on something else. It's like a rehab, you know. That's what I said when I said that I went to a silent retreat. for 10 days. I mean, those first days were painful because I was like, and you had a feeling like I'm going crazy because the mind is just, it's in another place, you know, and you have to reboot it or just balance it up or just, you know, neutralize it.
Do you feel like you are at a point now where you have significant control over your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I can see when it spirals away. I'm like, okay, then you're there. And I know I have ways, like very easy ways of just changing the whole. Like, for instance, let's say there are negative thoughts coming up. I'm like, excuse my language, but fuck this shit. Yeah, I can do easy things like putting on a comedy, just hearing laughter, or just laugh. Because the moment you do that, the whole energy changes, right? You know, you've been through like when you're in a fight, and there's this energy going on, and then the neighbor comes in like, hi, how you guys doing? Like, and then you completely change your own vibration, like, oh, you know, because it distracted you. So basically what I'm trying to say, I distract my mind. I don't let it spiral that direction because I know that that is just an illusion, you know. So I'm very like, there are simple ways to do it. But I know that my mind is in me.
Your mind is not you.
Yeah. It's like, you know, I know it sounds weird, but I mean, haven't you been in a space where you can observe your own thoughts?
Yes.
So who's observing the thoughts if you're the thoughts?
Right. No, I actually, I relate to that, I think, as well. I think that there's, like, I love talking to myself. That always feels like I'm me with my thoughts, you know? So that's, I guess that's one way that it manifests for me. It seems like you as well. So yeah, but I agree. I think that it's weird. Yeah, I mean, well, it's not weird, but it's an interesting one because you realize that there is, I guess, different voices and different poles, if you will. And I always grapple with wondering if the, you know, most, for lack of a better word, successful or mentally strong people are the ones that have the most control over their mind. And I don't know if I have an answer to that. And I'm curious if you see a correlation there.
I guess, I mean, the first question that popped in my head when you said most successful, I'm like, what is success?
Right.
How do we define success?
That's why
what is success?
Right.
Is it, you know, I believe like the true success is being like as free as possible. Like if you could imagine how life would be if you didn't have any fear, if you're just totally free, like what would you do? Like, you know, that would be just a wild, it is a wild thought.
Do you feel like you're anywhere near there?
I mean, I come and go from that. And whenever I'm in that space of like not caring, but still caring, like not giving a fuck, like the ego is not involved. Like, you know, I'm like, oof, this is nice. Because, you know, you're playful with life. You're just, it's just a beautiful feeling to be in.
When do you feel that most?
Like I'm in this space now.
Right.
Opening up, having this conversation with you. This is a very uncontrolled conversation. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I'm creative, and whenever I hang with corporate people, I'll be like, you know, you should see me. Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm like, you know, I'm like a big child just to change the whole energy in the room. Like, you know, I'm like, what is this? Like, you know.
I would pay money to see that.
You know, I walk around in the room like, okay, right. And I, you know, just do crazy stuff.
But do you feel like everybody, like even like, say, like in the more corporate energy, do you feel like everybody has it in them to, I guess, explore the psychological intricacies that you do? Yeah.
That was determined, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, that, why I'm saying yes is because I come from a space where I wasn't there, and you know, so most definitely, yeah. It's all about just getting rid of certain illusions and, you know, ideas.
Do you ever
just forgive and move on? That's what I want to say. Like, you know, and just once you forgive and move on, you know, things will happen.
Are you proud of the work you've done on yourself?
So far?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when I say the work you've done on yourself, as in like your own inner workings.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot left, my God, Jesus. But, yeah. I think the key is also to put yourself in really uncomfortable situations. If there is any uncomfortable situations that you feel like this is uncomfortable, you have to be there. I'm sorry, but that's where you have to be, you know. And life will put you there until you just go through it. Like, you know, it's like, if it is getting rid of a partner or just like, you know, quitting a job or whatever, it's like, you know.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. You have to do it, you know. There are no shortcuts. You know, I try to take those shortcuts. Just like, my God, I'm here again. What? Why, God, why?
Do you... And now I actually do have to wrap up because I was getting all the looks.
Why?
The good looks.
So much fun. I think you have these.
Everybody wants you. So I think you have places to be and people to see. But do you, when people listen to your music or listen to you speak or hear your name, what do you hope that people think about?
Oh, well, I hope like, that they would think like, oh, I like her because she makes me feel good about myself.
I love it. No, and I mean, first of all, I thank you for taking the time today, but I think that that's truly, you know, even in this conversation, it's, I personally love the way you think. I'm very, and it's not even just about loving, I'm very interested and fascinated. I'm sure that a lot of people are as well. But I think that it's clear that through your music and through the articulation of thoughts and experiences, that I'm sure that a lot of people feel very similarly. So I know that at least for me it's working, so I'm sure that for many others it's working as well. So
I know it because I felt it. You know, when I came in here, I'm like, oh, this is going to be really nice.
Well, no, I seriously, I mean, we could, next time we'll have to book up 3 hours.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Next time you're in New York. But thank you so much for taking the time, and really my pleasure.
Oh, the pleasure was all mine. This was so healing, man. Hey.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram at felix.levine, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment.